What makes an immigrant to the United States illegal? First, there has to be laws against entering the country, and this did not occur until 1882 with the Chinese Exclusion Act. Mexico, with its long border with the U.S., became the main conduit for the proscribed population to sneak into the country. It wasn't until 1911 that the border between the U.S. and Mexico was clearly marked, and in some places a fence went up, primarily to stop the movement of cattle between the countries and the spread of bovine diseases. These restrictions led to the creation of the Border Patrol in 1924 to enforce the law. In Texas, the Rangers had been largely responsible for keeping an eye on the Rio Grande. When the federal government took a more anti-immigrant position in the 1930s, authorities moved more than 1 million people back into Mexico. Many of these displaced people were more than likely American citizens by birth, but whose families came from south of the Rio Grande. Then, with the beginning of World War II, the United States created the Bracero program and invited millions of Mexican laborers back into the country. The flood of contract workers into the U.S. came with an associated deluge of other Mexicans who did not qualify as braceros. In 1954, the Border Patrol initiated a program that sent more than 1 million of these immigrants back to Mexico, including 500,000 from Texas. A decade later, the U.S. government, led by President Lyndon Johnson of Texas, passed the Immigration and Nationality Act, an attempt to create a more systematic approach to immigration. It defined the necessary skills immigrants needed to have in order to improve their chances of moving to the country legally. The law also set quotas by country. Mexican immigrants, though, had become a mainstay of construction and agriculture in many places, and business owners in Texas often ignored the laws in order to keep a steady supply of workers. The population of illegal immigrants continued growing. The location of industry to the border under the Maquiladora program, coupled with economic chaos in Mexico, kept immigration flowing. By 1986, the United States implemented the Immigration Reform and Control Act, which sanctioned employers who used undocumented workers, while at the same time creating a pathway to U.S. citizenship. It was the first large-scale legalization program in American history. Then, things changed. In the 1990s, the emphasis shifted toward law enforcement and efforts to secure and even fortify the U.S. border. There was a reason for the shift. Narcotics and marijuana had been heavily regulated for decades. The war in Vietnam, however, re-energized their use with Americans. The U.S. responded by declaring the war on drugs in the early 1970s. Billions of dollars had poured into Latin America as foreign aid. Even so, the supply of drugs coming into the U.S. increased, and profits for the contrabandistas and emerging drug cartels were enormous. The chance of search, seizure, or arrest were worth the risk of smuggling. What had once been a culturally unique part of Texas, the Mexican border, was now becoming a battleground.